The original Philips Hue Ambilight equipped TVs are gorgeous and obviously the best solution you're going to get. But unless you're in the market for a new TV, of course, you'll need to look at some sort of third-party retrofit or DIY option to get that Ambilight effect on your TV. Now, I'm no stranger to DIY solutions. I made one way back in the day with a simple strip of LEDs, but that also needed an Arduino and a PC to work. You'll also find nowadays Raspberry Pi based options with HDMI capture dongles, but honestly, they're all a bit of a faff. The Lytmi Neo 2 is a relative newcomer to the scene, which offers an all-in-one ready-made solution that works with any HDMI input signal, even a 4K HDR one. Join me, James Bruce, with MUO Reviews as I check out the Lytmi Neo 2 sync box. And moreover, since I have an actual Philips Ambilight TV, I'll be directly comparing the two to see if there's a difference. Okay, let's start with an unboxing, and I wouldn't normally do an unboxing for, well, any product really, but in this case I wanted to because it blew away my expectations. To be honest, I was expecting to just get some generic LED strips, you know, the same you might find on AliExpress, plus a fancy box to plug them into. But what I actually found was a very premium package. The included strips are in fact OEM branded with the Lytmi brand. They're not at all generic, they're flexible, they're safely, fully encased in flexible silicon at a 45-degree angle for better projection onto the wall. They're more durable and they just really have a premium feeling about them. On top of that, rather than just a strip along the back that you can stick to the back of your TV, you also get a nicely molded corner and straight clips. Again, very solidly made. These themselves attach to your TV, and that allows you to neatly lay the strips, then reposition them if you need to. So, all right, let's move on to installation. I just wanted to talk about the component quality because I wasn't expecting that, and it was a lot better than I thought. The control box is just a discrete little black box with HDMI in and out, LED strip USB connections, nothing remarkable there, so I won't talk about that. But the strips and connectors are really well designed, it felt like, so I wanted to mention that. I have seen some people complaining about the sticky strips on the back of the connectors, but it's possible Lytmi have solved that already. I didn't have an issue. So once you've got everything positioned, you should also cut off the excess strip at the corners, of course, using the scissor points indicated on the strip, and then replace the rubber end caps. Okay, so on to setup. Plug the strips in and power everything on, then download and open up the app. Now, personally, I found setup to be flawless. I will say that like a lot of IoT devices, this will only support 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. So if you have a dual band router, with both under the same network name, then ironically this means you'll have better luck the further away you are from the router. Basically because 2.4G networks are better at penetrating walls than 5 gigahertz is, so only the immediate room around the router will normally get 5 gigahertz while everywhere else will get 2.4. So if you can't move the router further away, you may need to separate the networks, which is slightly annoying but should be possible. Either way, I didn't have a problem because I set the TV up in the bedroom where it usually lives and where the Wi-Fi signal is actually quite bad. Then I moved it into my living room here with a large white wall for testing. And this is right next to an access point, but because I'd already set it up on the 2.4 gigahertz band, it didn't seem to have a problem. So when you're adding the sync light to the Lytmi app, L-Y-T-M-I, by the way, you just need to tell it which corner you've started from and then match up the colors that are shown on your smartphone screen, like green on the left side, red on the right, something like that. Also, I genuinely have no idea how it knows where you cut the strip, but it must know in order to accurately judge where the corners are on the strip. So presumably there's some sort of magic in there that sends a signal out to each pixel and then figures out at some point that there's no power drawn. Therefore, that must be where it's been cut. I don't know, maybe it's simpler than that. Anyway, from there you can jump straight into music reactive mode, a selection of animated lighting scenes, or simple single color mood lighting. And it's all relatively easy, the app's pretty easy to use. By default, of course, it's going to be in TV sync mode, so it will react to any incoming HDMI input signal. So just to be clear, the way this works is that it sits between your TV and your input device. It acts as a middleman. So if you have an AV receiver aggregating your inputs, then going into your TV. Put this box in the middle instead, then go from the box to the TV. Now, as far as I can tell, it doesn't add any latency to the connection, or if it does, it's so small as to not be noticeable. But it does mean that if you're using a smart TV to play content natively through the TV's operating system, or if you're just watching like terrestrial TV over the aerial, it won't work with this system. The Lytmi box does need to be used when you have an HDMI input. So let's get on to performance and comparisons. As I said, this review is mainly going to focus on direct comparisons to Philips Hue, which this TV is natively equipped with. You should be seeing some side-by-side comparisons now. For a basic color test, I wanted to use this rather than some elaborate visualization, just to get a good baseline and exactly the same test each time. I tested both during the daytime, so you can see it's pretty visible even then, as well as at night. Both the Philips Hue and the Lytmi strip offer various refresh speeds, so if you want a more reactive but somewhat hectic experience, you can put it in high-speed mode or just keep it on normal. Now, one thing I did notice is that there seems to be a little bit of latency between the colors on screen changing and the Lytmi strips changing color when you go to really high refresh rates, that is, which the high mode didn't really seem to help with. It was certainly more pronounced, I felt, with Lytmi than in the Philips Hue Ambilight. In practice, watching normal TV, I didn't notice it, but in this contrived test, it did seem pretty obviously off by a few frames at least. You might also notice that the colors on the Lytmi strip seem to be a little bit more muted, a little bit whiter than the Ambilight. I did mention this to our PR rep, and he said that they'd had other feedback from users about this, so it's something that they were working on in the next firmware update due out in the latter half of this year. Certainly, I know the strips are capable of much more saturated colors because in manual mode, you can see them doing better colors. So it's really just a case of modifying the algorithm that analyzes the colors on screen. So I'm confident that they can do that. It is still a relatively new product. But it's certainly worth noting that right now the colors from the Lytmi just aren't as impressive or as saturated as a real Ambilight. They're a little bit more muted. Again, though, it's not a massive issue in real-world usage. I didn't really notice it all that much, but when comparing side by side, it was definitely something I took note of. I also did a quick bit of gaming, and to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed here. While the Philips Hue Ambilight picked up spell effects in Gauntlet as they neared the edge of the screen, the Lytmi Neo 2 just sort of smeared everything into a pretty generic white, and barely registered anything. Again, I suspect this is related to the more muted color detection algorithm. So overall, while the main strip that's on the back of your TV performs fairly similarly to a Philips Hue and performs reasonably well with a neat hardware design, there are still some features that you do lose out on compared to an actual Philips Ambilight. We've talked about how you can't use the native content of your TV. Of course, it does need an HDMI signal going into that box in order to process, which you don't need with an actual Ambilight. But on top of that, right now the Lytmi strip is a standalone product, whereas with the Ambilight you can integrate with the rest of your living room lighting. So for instance, I have two other color hue bulbs which are linked to the left and right hand sides of the TV, meaning that they will enhance and duplicate the color output from there. This is less useful for normal TV, but it's great for gaming to bring in even more immersion. That said, the Lytmi rep did tell me that there are future compatible product expansions planned, so we may find something similar, being able to add light strips and bulbs, etc., to extend and enhance the experience. They even said that in future IFTTT support may be coming, which would open up the possibility of actually adding third-party bulbs into your Lytmi system, such as Hue bulbs. However, I'm not sure about the latency on that. Probably wouldn't work out great for TV sync. While the original Ambilight system is all done locally via a separate mesh router system for the Hue, it doesn't need to go to the internet and back, whereas IFTT would, of course. But we can only speculate at the moment about those promised features. For now, if you want a fully integrated living room TV backlighting system with bulbs everywhere syncing to the screen, you will need an actual Ambilight integrated TV or the official Hue sync box. So now we get on to the big question really. Should you buy the Lytmi Neo 2 TV sync system? Again, if you're in the market for a new TV anyway and you really want Ambilight features, I would strongly recommend going for an actual original Philips Ambilight 4-sided TV. They're pretty good value actually, not much more expensive for what I would say is a game-changing feature. The main benefit being that you get additional integration with the rest of the Hue system, as well as the deep integration with native TV apps and broadcast signal TV. However, to retrofit an existing TV, which is the more likely use case, then up to 65 inches, the Lytmi Neo 2 TV sync box is by far the best solution I've seen yet on the consumer market. It uses a native HDMI signal to extract the correct coloration in a pretty reliable way and latency-free as well. It also offers a variety of other features like music sync and special color scenes, but that's secondary really. It's nice to have, but not all that important for a TV backlight. It does, however, have some issues to be worked out, namely the muted colors in sync mode, but that's a software issue and it should be fixed at some point. It should be easy to fix anyway. All right, thanks for watching. I hope this has told you what you needed to know about the Lytmi Neo 2 sync box and how it compares to an original Philips Hue Ambilight system. Do hit like if it helped you, and if you still have some questions, then go ahead, ask away in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. Links in the description to the test videos that I've used from Tech Walls, this one, and Stefan Hyman. And do consider subscribing to this channel for more tech reviews, giveaways and more from all of us over at makeuseof.com. Until next time.